Hi diddly ho everyone, Royce Miller here, coming back at you with a let's try and a bit of a impromptu video talking about Star Wars. I just realized that today is May the 4th, and that's why I got this out again. Now, this was actually the last shirt I wore, however, it has gone through the washer since then. Don't worry, I'm not wearing a dirty shirt. In fact, I actually am wearing it over another shirt, just because it's, yeah. I thought about what I could do. I don't have any Star Wars props I can review, although I am looking at a couple. I haven't watched a lot of the TV shows. Like, I think I've only watched the 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and I haven't seen any of Book of Boba Fett. I haven't seen the last couple episodes of Obi-Wan. I haven't watched any of Andor, etc., etc. And it's been a long time since I've watched the Genndy or CG Clone Wars shows, let alone the Bad Batch, so I can't talk about any of that. So I'm going to be listing off my favorite Star Wars movies, and since there are some hot takes in there, why not accompany that with a hot soda? Here we have Picture Show Cinnamon Red Hot Soda by Boots Beverages. Delicious, refreshing. Out of Belleville, Texas. Yeehaw. Twist off? I don't think so. Well, it might be, but does it ever say, like, if it's a twist off or not? Whatever. I have a church key this time. You can't get the best of me. Bottle cap. Let's take a sip, and then we'll get into the listing. That is actually just very pleasant cinnamon soda. Not hot at all. Gosh dang it. First the sour soda wasn't sour, now the hot soda's not hot. I would drink this on the regular. God damn. You know what this reminds me of is Pepsi Holiday Spice, which was just a very good, like, cinnamon-flavored Pepsi that they sold around the holidays. It was delicious. I should get a bottle of Pepsi and mix it with this. It'd be fantastic. Anyway, let's get off with the listing. So I'm going to be going through the 9 movies, as well as the 2 in-between Quill movies. So let's start off with the bottom of the list. Shouldn't surprise anyone, Attack of the Clones. This movie was so boring. And, like, I feel bad saying that, because it's got a lot of interesting lore to it. You know, this is where we get the origin of the clones. This is where we get Count Dooku. This is where, and there's a lot of fun stuff in it. Like, there's the arena fight with the Acklay and the big rhino thing and the tiger thing. There's that really fun scene in the bar where Obi-Wan mind tricks the drug dealer. You want to buy some death sticks? You don't want to sell me death sticks. I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life? I want to go home and rethink my life. That's a great scene. But the movie around it is so boring. And, like, part of the problem, it is not any of the actors' fault, okay? Hayden Christensen isn't a bad actor. Natalie Portman is a great actor. But the problem is George Lucas isn't much of a director, and he's definitely not a romance director. He's an ideas guy, and, like, he needs someone to rein in his ideas. And I think that if he had gotten one of his friends, not Ivan Reitman, who's the guy who Irvin Kershner? Something, I think that's his name. If they had gotten an Irvin Kershner in to kind of, tell him no, to show him, I think this could have been a great movie. Because, like, it's a lot of the setup. We see how Palpatine is setting all this stuff in motion so that he can take over. The problem is the romance. The problem is, and we see a lot of Anakin's dark side. Like, we jump from Anakin the kid to Anakin the genocidal maniac way too fast. Because, like, the last time we saw Anakin, he was, like, 10 years old, helping destroy the droid, you know, helping destroy the circle ship in Phantom Menace. And all of a sudden, like, he's killing all these, you know, not just the women, or not just the men, but the women and the children, too. You know, doing, you know, war crimes. He's doing war crimes. That should have been his Darth Vader moment. Like, fuck everything that happens in Revenge of the Sith. The man murdered children, but because they were Tusken Raiders, they weren't human children, no one gives a shit. Pardon my French. I don't know. Look, the film has a lot of problems, a lot of pacing problems. I didn't even get into the factory scene. Also, just a lot of heavy reliance on CG. You know, that was, to quote Abe Simpson, as was the style of the time. But there are some good moments, but it's just not very good. Speaking of number 8, Rise of Skywalker. Now, we're going to get into this later, but my favorite of the films was Last Jedi. So imagine how much it pissed me off that Disney gave in to the losers who kept whining about, Luke, Luke, Ray this, Luke that, meh, Baba, I need my Baba, I'm a man-child, I live in my mom's basement. Not that there's anything wrong with living in your mom's basement. I paid $650 a month for 2017 to 2022, 5 years living in my mom's basement. Anyway, but Rise of Skywalker, it was a poorly made film. The J.J. Abrams, his whole mystery box thing, he has problems sticking the landing. Like, he had the same problem with Lost, from what I've heard. He wasn't, you know, like, I like Star Trek 09, but Into Darkness sucked. He's not a good, he has trouble with he's good at teeing up, but he's not good at the follow-through. You know what I mean? He should have... I wish that we could, like... I had predicted that Rey was a Palpatine from word go, because Daisy Ridley doesn't do an American accent, but John Boyega does. You know, the accents kind of matter in Star Wars. I don't know if you noticed this, but outer planets tend to have American accents, and then the core planets have British accents. I call it Imperial Basic. Because it's literally like Palpatine has a British accent, Obi-Wan has a British accent, Tarkin has a British accent. People who are from the core systems have a British accent. The only exception I can think of is the guy Simon Pegg played, and he had an exaggerated Cockney accent. Also, you have the fish dudes, or the like, weird alien dudes from Phantom Menace who had, like, Chinese accents almost. I don't know. There's a lot of weird racism going on in Phantom Menace. So we'll call I'm going to call the in-between-quills 0.5s on the list, because I forgot about them until I made the list. So I kind of squeezed them in between. Speaking of, though, 7.5. Solo, a Star Wars story. It had a lot of interesting stuff, but it also had a lot of bad stuff. I liked Kira. I liked the Darth Maul cameo. The Spice Mines, I don't know. They were better than the Spice Mines in the trilogy, in the Timothy Zahn books, where they're run by a frog in a cravat. The Star Wars expanded universe, if you want to know how dumb that stuff is, the Spice Mines of Kessel are run by a frog in a cravat. You know, just imagine a fancy boy frog in his little ascot tie, you know, going around with a monocle, Mr. Toad runs your spice mine. That's how goofy the Timothy Zahn books are. Let alone the fact that Luke's clone is just Luke with 2 U's. I think what really brings it up for me, though, is is it Danny Glover? It's either Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. Childish Gambino makes an excellent Lando. I wish the movie had been about him. And I would have loved a sequel where you get the kid who played young Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones coming in as Boba Fett, but sadly, Solo kind of flopped, so meh. Anyway, 7, Phantom Menace. Why is it this high when Rise of Skywalker is at least a competently made film, if nonsensical plot-wise? Jonathan Williams. Duel of the Fates, what can I say? Man, Boots, this is a good drink. This shouldn't be... Don't call it red hot, it's not. It's just a really good cinnamon drink. Fantastic. But, okay, so Phantom Menace. Darth Maul's a cool design. I actually think the pod racing is a great idea, just maybe not the best executed. Also, it is a little weird that Greg Froops, one of the Who's Line guys, is the sports commentator for that. Also, you get a random Jabba cameo where he's this big political figure, and I don't know, you need to do a lot more setup to have the Hutts as a political class on Tatooine, because when we see Jabba in Return of the Jedi, he's not, ho 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 ho, hello everyone. He's lurking in this subterranean lair in a palace with exotic dancers and shit. Pardon my friend. Why am I swearing so much today? Good Lord. Anyway. I don't like Qui-Gon. I hate the Midichlorians, but it's also kind of a nostalgic movie, I guess, because, 99, I was 6 when that movie came out. No, I was 5 when that movie came out, because it came out in the summer, and I turned 6 in the fall. So yeah, it's... But, and also, there's a lot of fun stuff. I don't know. Also, I feel kind of bad. Jake Lloyd and Ahmed Best. Those poor people. Absolutely, screamed at by the internet. Poor Jake Lloyd. He's institutionalized now because of how much people hate that. And that continued onwards. Red Letter Media destroyed film discourse for decades with their stupid BS. But now, because everyone wants to hate on the JJ films, everyone loves the prequels. F you. They were making jokes about Jar Jar in Batman Beyond. That's how reviled it was, where they were predicting that, 50 years in the future, we're still going to be making fun of Jar Jar. Anyway. 6.5, Rogue One. Why is it so high? Tarkin and Vader. I actually kind of like dad joke Vader a bit. Don't choke on your aspirations. Vader is actually probably my favorite Star Wars character, but I'll get more into that later. I have a weird relationship with Rogue One because I was really into Matt Pat's film theory at the time, and he had predicted this thing where the Rogue One people, the Rogue One team, was going to become the Knights of Ren, and I thought that was a really cool idea. And when they all died, I was so disappointed that I just didn't like the movie after that. But, like, I should have been more intelligent. I wasn't. Look, the Royce of 2016 wasn't an intelligent person, okay? I was still pretty sheltered, still had a lot of growing up to do, still had untreated depression and anxiety. Just so you know, I wasn't diagnosed and treated for my anxiety and depression until 2018. So that's still 2 years out from when, and I'm, from 2016 when I watched this film, and I was really disappointed by it. Honestly, though, it's not a bad film. I just don't like it as much as the films above it. Number 6, Force Awakens. Now, I've reamed JJ a lot, but I'll give him this. Force Awakens is a very competent film. It embraces, is able to showcase the Star Wars aesthetic in a way that I don't think even the prequels were able to. I remember very vividly that the scene where BB-8 is going through the desert and you see just this random animatronic head pop up, look around, and go back down. And, that, I think, that won him a lot of goodwill. All the practical effects in in Force Awakens won JJ a lot of goodwill. And I think we forget that. The 2015 Star Wars film was good. It was a lot of fun. I was glad to have seen it in theaters. I have a very fond memory. I got my Christmas bonus at work and immediately went to the theater and saw Force Awakens. And I love Kylo Ren because he is me. He is a dumb edgelord piece of shit who loves Darth Vader. That is me, okay? He is me, for real, for real. Anyway, speaking of Darth Vader, Revenge of the Sith is number 5. Tastes like Christmas. Revenge of the Sith is a interesting, Doug Walker said it best, and I hate giving him this credit, but it's true. It's the closest that the prequels get to being good films. But it's also kind of the summation of all the dumb goofiness. My brother has said, and my brother said this, and I agree with him to an extent, where he said that people thought that Phantom Menace was too kiddie, too childish. So George Lucas was like, "Oh yeah, well look, Anakin's killing children now. Ha, see, I'm grown up. I'm a man, meh." And Star Wars has always been a family thing. People can say "Oh well, no, Star Wars was for adults." Star Wars was based on old sci-fi serials that kids would go see at the Nickelodeon, the Nickel Theater, not the Slime Channel. It's based on stuff like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers. Those were family serials. Star Wars is a family serial. Anyway. I'm sorry. This is just a really good soda. I don't know why I keep going back to it. I got that. My mom and I went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast today, and I saw this, and it's like, oh, that looks fun. And it's a fantastic drink, but it's not red hot. I don't know why we aren't selling cinnamon sodas just on the regular. I'd drink it. Hell, get me a diet of this. It tastes great because cinnamon doesn't. Cinnamon can use fake sugar. Anyway, Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith has some of the best Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine stuff. Obviously, you have the lines like unlimited power and, the opera scene. It also has General Grievous, who I really liked as a kid. And, I didn't see him in the Gendy stuff at first, so that was my introduction to him, and even though he was, all through the movie, I actually really liked him a lot. And then, of course, you have the swashbuckling Obi-Wan Kenobi, the gunslinging war general Obi-Wan who, shoots Grievous and tosses away the gun saying, "So uncivilized." That might be the best of Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan ever. Trying to think if there's anything I need to say. Anything. I don't like the ending. I don't think they should have killed Padme. This is just my dumb idea, but I think that Padme should have faked her death and founded the rebellion as Bush, the bounty hunter Leia dresses up as. Which would give Leia a connection to her mother, and also be a reason for Leia to know her mother, because maybe maybe Leia saw Padme as Bush, and saw her without her mask, and recognized her as her mother. That's all my stupid fan theories. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith, number 5. Number 4, Return of the Jedi. It's a classic. It's a little goofy. I don't like the Ewoks a whole lot, but I understand, I think it's funny that George Lucas basically looked at the Viet Cong and was like, I'm going to make these teddy bears. I'm going to make these Asian freedom fighters, kicking out the capitalist dogs, and I'm going to make them teddy bears. Because that's what the Ewoks are. They're the effing Viet Cong. They're using guerrilla warfare to destroy the Empire. All they're missing is some bamboo sticks covered in fecal matter. Punji sticks. That shit will mess you up. I don't know. And then Jabba's palace. People have mixed feelings on Jabba's palace. Because it's like, oh, well, we gotta go get Han. We gotta go get Han before we do the rest of the adventure. Maybe I just don't have real sugar enough, because this is made with real cane sugar. Anyway, I am actually starting to get a little heat on the back of the throat, though. Now, maybe you're supposed to drink the whole thing before it kicks in. Anyway, and then everything went So, as a kid, I didn't like Vader having a redemption arc. I wanted Vader to be the cool, faceless villain. I didn't see the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker. But nowadays, I do see it more. Again, like I said, I had very Kylo Ren feelings toward Vader. I can't bring myself to hate the little bastard because he's an edgelord like me. And Vader's redemption arc is interesting, and this is a good spot for me to talk about where Kylo Ren's redemption arc failed. Kylo Ren couldn't redeem himself by dying without retreading Vader's footsteps. Kylo should have lived. He should have, turned himself in, been tried for his crimes, and spent the rest of his life in prison. Or in exile on Tatooine at the Lars homestead. Vader already perfected the dying for redemption. And I like that. And also, like, Kylo Force Ascending is so dumb because Vader's physical body had to be burned for Anakin to become one with the Force. Every part of Vader had to be destroyed for Anakin Skywalker to live again. You know, he didn't disappear into the Force the way Ren did. Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, shouldn't have disappeared into the Force. Force Ascension is for really powerful, good Jedi. Obi-Wan, Luke, Yoda. Those people, yes. Not Vader, not Kylo Ren. I don't know. Look, I'm just a well-meaning idiot. Okay? Anyway, number 3, New Hope. New Hope was probably my favorite Star Wars film as a kid, but I always fell asleep after because we would watch it when we were going to bed at Grandma and Grandpa's. But I would always fall asleep after the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, because to me that was the best part. I didn't care about the dogfight at the end. I didn't care about blowing up the Death Star. To me, the best part was Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, and then, you know, the strike me down and I shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And, like, Obi-Wan might be my second favorite character, because I love that old wizard stuff. I love the crazy old man. And I will say I did grow up with the special editions. I'm sorry. Like, I was 4 when they came out. What do you want from me? I didn't have a chance to grow up with the originals. I'm just gonna finish this. I'm sorry, that's just so good. Get yourself one of these. Go to Cracker Barrel and get one of these. Anyway. New Hope. It is the most iconic of the films. Every scene, every moment. And, like, it's all because of necessity. You know, Star Wars was saved on the cutting room floor. And also it was... It benefited heavily from Lucas not being able to afford all the ideas he wanted to do. Originally, there was going to be this big, like, stop-motion pod racing scene in a giant arena like it was Ben-Hur. And that would have just dragged the movie to a halt. But as it is, it's just a perfectly made piece of cinema. Yeah, it's a little janky. You have Vader. You know, Vader's costume is a little, like, not put together. And then, Leia's half-fake British accent. Which, I can almost see that being in... Like, you could retroactively say that's almost intentional. Like, it's her trying to fit in with these, you know, these core system elitists. I should have known your foul stench when I was brought on board. Anyway. And then, like, you know, you've got Han, you've got the cantina scene, maybe the most iconic scene in all of Star Wars, the fight between Obi-Wan and Vader, Alec Guinness just killing it as Obi-Wan. And, like, I love the behind-the-scenes stuff, too, of, like, Alec Guinness in his Obi-Wan outfit, but also wearing a turban like he's Lawrence of Arabia. Not a turban, but, like, a headscarf, just trying to keep out of the Tunisian sun. I think it was Tunisia where they filmed. I could still be thinking of Tunisia from the Shakshuka. Anyway. But yeah, New Hope, great movie. Just a little dry nowadays. Empire Strikes Back. Maybe the perfect Star Wars film. Okay, I'll say it like this. It's the perfect straight Star Wars film. Because number one, I will say, is a deconstruction, which I like, but some of y'all don't like. So if you don't like deconstructive media, then feel free to consider Empire Strikes Back number one. But for me, it's number two, which is still really good, considering that this is 11 movies. So yeah, Empire Strikes Back. What is there to say? Hoth, fantastic scene. Dagobah, fantastic scene. Frank Oz's Yoda, amazing. I actually didn't used to like Yoda as a kid because I was like, excuse me, why does he sound like Grover? Yeah. Now I recognize how fun having this Jedi Master who's also a little goofball is. And of course the iconic scene with Vader in Cloud City. Yeah, of course Lando Calrissian. I will say I don't like having Han in such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, predicament? I don't know. Han is such a badass in the first one, and this one makes him kind of the damsel in distress. Like, he's always making the wrong move, even though it's the right move. Well, okay, how about this? He makes right moves and he's still outplayed. But he still goes out on top with the I know scene. And then, of course, you have Vader, like, finding out that this evil cyborg, this unknowable horror, is actually Anakin Skywalker. You know, like, that blew people's minds. It's still one of the most iconic plot twists of all time. Like, I take it for granted because I was born in 93. I was born almost a decade after the movie came out. Actually, no, did it come out in 83? Was I born a whole decade after? Ugh. Anyway. It's just a good film. It's just a really good, like, Star Wars has always been a little chintzy. You know, it's not commercialized in the way that the Disney Star Wars are, but it's still, like, goofy and stuff. But Empire Strikes Back is just good cinema. It's operatic. It's where the term space opera got applied to the series, because you had this very operatic twist with Vader being Luke's dad. I don't know. I was actually against that a lot as a kid, to the point where I was thinking about ways where it's like, no, he's not actually Luke's dad. He's not actually Anakin Skywalker. Darn it, I keep shaking the camera. I don't know. Nowadays, I'm more okay with it. I understand the tragedy of it all. You know, being a kid is liking Darth Vader because he's a cool bad guy. Being an adult is liking Darth Vader because he's a tragic fallen hero. Anyway, let's go on to the number one, my favorite Star Wars movie. If you've been keeping track at home, you know what it is, and if you don't like it, well, sorry. Last Jedi. Let's start with the elephant in the room, Hermit Luke. I love Hermit Luke. I think that is the perfect thing for the idealistic farm boy, to become this disaffected, depressed, like, Gen X kind of, like, everything I've done is for nothing. And to people who say, like, oh, well, Luke wouldn't have tried to kill young Ben, I don't know if we watched the same Star Wars movies. I seem to recall a scene in Return of the Jedi where when he thought his sister was in danger, he started just wailing on Vader. Bam, 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 bam. And, like, also, I just like his character. I like the arc he has. I like the depressed asshole You know, I liked it when Spider-Man was like that in Spider-Verse. I liked when Samurai Jack was like that in Samurai Jack. I liked when... I think those are the ones I can think of right now. But, you know, I like that that idea of the depressed hero having to find themselves again. Because he does find himself. And he does it by doing the most Jedi thing possible. You know, he doesn't kill anyone. He doesn't raise his saber. He fakes them out using the Force. He makes a mockery of Kylo in front of his own army. And it's the best scene in the movie. It's so good. And then you have that big fight scene against the Imperial Guard or whoever they were. And Canto Bight, for as much as people make fun of it, that is totally something Lucas would have done. Also, that B-52, the bomber run in the beginning, man, that is Star Wars to a T. Star Wars is at its core is anachronism. It's taking the tools of science fiction, putting it in the hands of knights and wizards, and having them act out a World War II drama. So that is exactly what happened. The bombing run is just a World War II bombing run in space. That is Star Wars. That is Star Wars to a T. That is perfect. And then, of course, there is my favorite scene in the entire series. The Holdo maneuver. Oh, yes. And I didn't know what to make of Holdo when I first saw the film. Back in 2017, I was like, I don't trust this lady. I actually spent most of the film thinking that she was a spy, feeding Snoke's men the coordinates of where they were going. And I thought that it was going to be this big cat and mouse game between her and Poe. But no, she was actually a good person. And then to throw it back in my face, what an idiot I was. She does the coolest thing in the whole series. I was in the theaters. I was in the IMAX theater with the seats that vibrate, and that was just so cool when it was boom. Yeah, so good. So good. Oh, man. Hearing Dominic Moynihan say, let's just pull a couple of Holdo maneuvers in Rise of Skywalker hurt. It physically hurt. Shut up. Shut up, Mariodoc. Don't ruin it for me. That is something that can only happen once, okay? We got 2 Death Stars blowing up, but you can only do the Holdo maneuver once. And because it was just such a, turning off the targeting computer, and you're like, what is she doing? Oh, sorry, I'm running on a sugar high right now, I guess. Such a good scene. I don't know how y'all can hate that movie with that scene. It's so good. It's so good, come on. And Rian Johnson is a great writer-director. I didn't really care for Looper. I don't like time travel movies that much, but first Last Jedi, then Knives Out, and I'm sure Glass Onion is great. I haven't seen it yet. The man is one of the best writer-directors in Hollywood right now. And I feel like people really don't appreciate him because they're they really are butthurt that Luke wasn't the savior of mankind. He's not he is a sheltered farm kid who realized that his heroes were flawed. And here's the funny thing, he's right. Everything he said about the Jedi, 100% factual. They were they were they were arrogant. They did let Palpatine rise to power. They sat by while the world was changing around them into something bad. Anyway, it's... So yeah, those are my top... That's all the Star Wars movies arbitrarily ranked. Honestly, you wouldn't have a bad time watching any of them. That's the honest truth. They're not bad movies. If they were bad movies, people wouldn't argue about them endlessly. You know, for as much as people make fun of the prequels, they spun off into some amazing material. You have the Clone Wars TV shows, you have The Bad Batch, you have Battlefront 2 for the PS2 and Xbox. One of the best Star Wars games. One of the best third-person shooters of all time. I love it so much. I actually bought it for like $30 on the Xbox, on my Xbox One. Okay, that's how much I love it. Let me tell you, Tamara Morrison narrating a gritty war serial to you is one of the best times you'll have playing a video game. Not to mention just like running around as Ayla Sakura or Coyote Mundi just wailing on droids is really fun. Anyway, I've prattled on for 42 minutes. Good Lord. This is gonna take forever to upload. Well, y'all have a good day. I'll see you on Saturday. May the 4th be with you. This is Royce Miller, signing out. Yes, I know it's wrong. I'm outie.